All right. So when I was working on my book, right, Introspect, one of the phrases that stuck with me was the idea of the project management of the self, like figuring out who you are, what you care about, what your priorities are, what your relationships are, all those things. And I was interested in the concept of project management in general. So even before I wrote Introspect, or before I wrote the draft of Introspect, I had this whole thread. I have a couple of other videos, right, about project management. And I'm not sure I've actually talked about my definition of what a project is in those videos, because I only really figured out this definition that I really like while writing my book, which is that a project, in my view, is anything that requires collaboration, meaning anything that cannot be done in a single sitting by a single individual. So even if you're working just by yourself, right? So like writing a blog post may or may not be a project. Writing a tweet is typically a task. Writing a book is definitely a project. And what I mean by that is that no one individual, and so here we get to, I was going to say no one individual writes a book, right? And here I'm going to get into like a more dynamic concept of the self, right? Which is that, collaborating with yourself a few hours later and collaborating with yourself tomorrow and the day after is difficult. And that's part of why, people try to install new habits and they struggle, in part because the person that wants to install the habit is different than the person who has to deal with it the next day and the next month, right? And most people, I would say, are not too great at collaborating with themselves. And another insight is that collaboration is humanizing and the inability to collaborate is dehumanizing, right? And so people who feel that, oh, I can't get my life together, there's all these things that I want to do, but I can't seem to do them. I can't bring myself to keep up with a journaling habit. I can't keep up with a fitness habit. I can't eat healthy for an extended period of time. All of those things are challenges of project management so again, like project management means that, so if you imagine in like a corporate context, right, or like you're managing a team, you have to manage the different expectations of the individuals working for you. You have to manage different people's different motivation styles. They're different in what incentives they care about, disincentives they care about, if you think that way. And it's hard, and doing anything substantial is hard because you have to manage the project. And working on a book for me really clarified, like a long book that I worked on for 3 years. It was very humanizing for me to finish the book because it meant that past Visa, present Visa, and in the middle of it, the future Visa, like all those multiple versions of myself had to collaborate with each other. And to do that, I needed a coherent narrative, right? I needed something that made sense to all of them meaning past versions of myself. And so vision is the main thing, I think. Like managing your psychology, knowing why you're doing it, why you want to do it, what completing it means to you, what each person, and again, when I say person, I mean versions of myself, right? What each version of myself, what could I reasonably expect any one day of me to do, right? So no one day could I write the whole book at once. It's not possible. And I can't even read the whole book at once. Like read meaning not just casually reading it, but reading it with the perspective of the person who's gonna edit and publish it. Right? So I would have to chunk things down. I have to break things into steps. I would have to reward myself and celebrate my wins along the way to keep myself interested and motivated and wanting to pass the baton on to the next version of myself and the next and the next. And I think that's where people stumble, and there's this gif that I like to use on Twitter, which is like it's a group of guys in a pool and they are passing a ball with their heads, hitting the ball back and forth. So it's like this guy passes to this guy passes to the next guy passes to the next guy, and they pass this ball back and forth until it gets to like the last guy. And you can just feel that sense of union and the sense of flow. And just, that's part of why it's fun to watch sports, right? You see people passing the ball back and forth very skillfully. There's like a feint. One guy pretends to pass it, he passes the ball that way, then the guy catches it, and it's like, whoa, they operated in concert, right? And it's also why music is great to witness, right? When you watch a band performing live together, and it's like they're all in sync, simpatico, right? They're all aligned. And that's very humanizing. You feel that, it's very seductive, and that's also, the dark side of it is where you get like fascism and people goose stepping towards something horrible. But you need like the wholesome, healthy version of it where people feel like they are part of their communities, like they are in friend groups and people care about them and they can pass the ball back and forth. And even conversation, just chatting with someone, you can think of it as passing the ball back and forth. And that's like the smallest, simplest unit of good reply game is you said something. I'm gonna say something that builds on what you said, and I'm gonna make you look good. There's this great Victor Wooten bit where he says, my job as a bass player, as a rhythm section musician, is not to just play with him, but to make him sound better. And when you do that, you get hired because people want to sound good, and you can help other people sound good. And people love to play with someone who makes them look good, feel good, sound good. It's just a joy to have around a person who's great to collaborate with, right? You see what I'm saying? I'm probably gonna find a more succinct way of putting this, but I'm going in circles around. A project involves collaboration. Collaboration feels great. It feels great to catch. It feels great to pass. It feels great to feel that sense of back and forth. And I even have this thing about how a great note-taking system is one where individual notes have good reply game with other individual notes, right? Where each note is replying to at least one other note, not necessarily all other notes, which is what I think some systems screw up with that. They have too many links. And if you have 100 notes and every note links to 99 other notes, you might as well have 0 links. I should tweet that as a good tweet. But right, you want to find the most relevant bidirectional links. The most relevant. It doesn't even need to be bidirectional. There's the most relevant links that connect things and flow, so that all the fragmentation, there's a lot of fragmented noise, it comes together in a sense of harmony. It's a symphony of notes, right? And I don't know if I covered everything that I wanted to say. Projects require collaboration. Collaboration is deeply humanizing. The inability to collaborate with yourself makes you feel. There's a great quote from Nietzsche in Zarathustra where he says, "Your bad love makes solitude a prison. Your bad love to yourself makes solitude a prison for you." Because you have bad reply game with yourself. You're insulting yourself. You're not building yourself up. You're putting yourself down. And why would you want to hang out with yourself if you're putting yourself down all the time? People do that. Miserable, anxious, depressed. Why are you putting yourself down? Well, we can get into that in a separate video if you want to talk about it. But and even if you feel that you're mostly unworthy of friendship, you're mostly a bad person or whatever, you can focus on the good parts and expand that, right? Only light can drive out darkness. So you want to, you have a little bit of light in your life, you want to take another candle and light it with that light, and then now you have 2 candles, and then you have 4 candles, 8 candles, 36, 8, 16, 32. But you can spread the good stuff by focusing on it, collaborating with it, playing with it, expanding it, doubling down on it. Focus on the good stuff. I don't think I have a video yet about focus on what you want to see more of. I will get to that eventually, but I'm getting tired, so I'm just going to end this video here, and I'll just do one of these every day. Just multiple videos a day. This is my 3rd video that I'm making right now, but I'm going to schedule one of these every day, and then I'm just going to try and keep the ball rolling and collaborate with myself and with the people who show up in my comment section. Like, you're all helping me figure out what I mean, what I want to try to say, and let's be fucking glorious together. Cheers and done.